everybody! Today I'm going to be filming a video talking about both the positives and negatives that my conditions have brought me. And I'm grateful that my experience isn't all negative. For a lot of people, they would very much struggle to find any positives, so I'm extremely lucky in that sense. And I think the positives and negatives, I would actually say that some of the positives really do outweigh the negatives, so again, I'm very lucky with that. But the thing is, it's really interesting to think that because of my conditions, because of my struggles, it's actually made me who I am today. And it sounds very cliche because I know there are quite a few people who say that, but I really do mean it, because I think it's made me a more compassionate person. I feel like there have been times where I feel very misunderstood, very invalidated, very much like I do not belong in this world. I'm very different to most people, but that, I believe, makes me more defensive for other marginalised groups and just more compassionate in general and less likely to judge people for things that other people might judge them for. So I think that's actually a positive. My experiences with that have definitely shaped me into being the person I guess I should be and want to be. As well as this, if I didn't have tics, then I would have never gone to any Tourette's events. But at Tourette's events, I've actually met some of the most incredible friends, and online as well. I have met some really incredible people who have changed my life so much. And if I didn't have tics, then I wouldn't have met these people. So I feel very, very lucky that I actually got to meet these people, and that's what brought us together. My best friends are in the ticking community. As well as this, my experiences have sort of allowed me to have the drive and passion to make a difference, and that gives me a sense of purpose in life, and that's really, really important. Having a sense of purpose is really important to our overall mental well-being. So for me, having that ability to sort of do awareness posts, and I used to also do other things, like I used to volunteer for a charity, I used to do training sessions on Tourette's, I was once on the radio talking about Tourette's. Those things, those experiences give me a sense of purpose, and that's really, really important. And it's good to think that I might be making some sort of a difference to someone's life, or just making the world a little bit more of a less judgmental place in some ways. My conditions have definitely stripped away my naivety about the world, because, okay, this sounds really sad, I know, but you know, there's loads of services that a lot of people would think, like, a doctor isn't going to harm you, a doctor's only ever going to do what they can to help you. And unfortunately, from my own experiences and listening to other people's experiences, I have learned that medical malpractice happens and certain services aren't all they are made out to be. Like, mental health services have so many flaws, and it's terrible, they shouldn't have. But my experiences have taught me this, so I can see now that the world isn't a perfect place, but that actually is good for me, because I am less likely to disbelieve someone who has been in a negative experience. I'm less likely to disbelieve someone that was misdiagnosed many times. I'm less likely to disbelieve someone who was mistreated by a doctor. I would never disbelieve someone because of those things, but I feel like some people might have some doubt if they haven't been in the experience themselves. They might not really understand people who have experienced that sort of thing, but I definitely have got more compassion towards people now who are failed by certain services, because I was one of those people. But overall, it wasn't completely negative, because it has, again, made me less judgmental towards people with certain experiences. And I know that the conventional systems don't necessarily help everyone, and that's why we need to be open-minded and listen to people who have had negative experiences so that we know how to improve these services. Another way in which I think my conditions are actually a positive is that they have shaped my personality in so many ways. And it's very strange, because if I did not have tics, if I did not grow up with OCD symptoms, I would not be who I am in the sense of my personality, just the way that I kind of feel like an outcast sometimes. I'm a little bit unconventional, but these are some of the most important traits of my personality that make me me, and I wouldn't have been shaped that way if I didn't have those past experiences. And as well as this, there's a negative of my conditions, meaning that I can't work a full-time job, and I can't really work a difficult job either. But I realised that that isn't necessarily a fully bad thing. Yes, it can lead to financial struggles, but in a way, it's forced me to go up an unconventional path in life, but that isn't always negative, because I can do other things that might potentially help people, like make videos, and I'm currently in the process of attempting to write a book. Not sure if that will ever happen, but I might as well try. And also applying for certain opportunities that will help me raise awareness on a more public level. So it's definitely given me the ability to do more unconventional things, but just because something's unconventional doesn't mean it's less. Sometimes the unconventional things are actually a lot more interesting. Like that was a tick, but yeah. I feel like I would get bored working in like a shop or an office, and for an example, like a place where a lot of people work. I like going up my own path, so I guess my conditions have let me do that as well. It's also helped me on a spiritual journey level, because I had a spiritual awakening when I was 17, and that was triggered by a lot of my symptoms. For example, I've already made a video about this, but I'll touch on it now as well because it's still a positive. I realised that we are not our thoughts, and my ego kind of went, but that's a good thing because it allowed me to be more humble. It allowed me to be able to question my thoughts more, because with all the intrusive thoughts I had and dissociative symptoms, it kind of, again, gave me that realisation that we are not our thoughts, and it's good that I can actually question certain thoughts now, because not everything we think is accurate, so it's taught me some important lessons like that as well. My conditions have allowed me to develop certain abilities, such as confidence. Like, it sounds so counterintuitive, but like, my tics have given me more confidence because they sort of exposed me to certain social situations which, if I didn't have tics, I'd be scared to be in. So like, obviously I uncontrollably yell things and people will look at me, but that kind of allows me the confidence now to be myself, because I know people are going to think I'm strange regardless of what I do, so I might as well be myself. Yeah, people might judge me more, but they judge me anyway. That's not really my problem. You know, I am more confident to like do public speaking and stuff now because I'm used to people looking at me anyway. I'm used to yelling stuff in public anyway. It doesn't really make a difference to me now. I do have a lot of gratitude about my experiences, even though they have been very, very difficult at times. But for example, I went through 4 years of basically hell as a child with severe Tourette OCD. However, at the age of 16, I was incredibly grateful for all of it, and I would not get rid of my past experiences, because they allowed me to find what I was passionate about in life. I ended up studying health and social care at college because it inspired me to do that. I did a work placement at a specialist autism school because it had inspired me to do that. I, for a while, volunteering for a charity, which is a really amazing experience, and these are all experiences that I would not have if I didn't have these experiences. For me personally, this obviously isn't the case for everyone, but I'm very lucky that some of the most difficult experiences in my life have actually led to some of the best experiences of my life, like meeting amazing friends and getting opportunities to make a difference. My conditions also allow me to not take things for granted, because I know what it's like to struggle, and I feel like if I hadn't gone through the difficulties that I'd gone through, then I feel like I wouldn't be as grateful, I wouldn't be as positive, I wouldn't see every little thing as a miracle, because I would just be like, well, everyone does these things, like there's nothing special, but to me it is special because I used to be very much severely disabled, and I still am very disabled, to be fair. I still struggle a lot. Bramblebush! But things like the fact that I have a boyfriend feels absolutely incredible to me, because I never imagined that. The fact that I finished a college course is amazing to me, because I never imagined that either. Like, just even spending time with friends and doing stuff that typical young adults do, it means the world to me, whereas to other people it might just be another day. It might not mean as much to them as it does to me, but it's definitely given a bigger sense of meaning to everything, and made me more grateful for things that others would take for granted. I've also been really lucky that in my teenage years I experienced a lot of empowerment, because I was lucky that I had a lot of amazing role models in the Tourette's and Tic community, and these role models gave me confidence, they empowered me, and I don't think I would feel as empowered if I didn't have the conditions. Interestingly, my neurological differences have empowered me and given me more confidence in myself. I like being different. Postures, because if you think about it, if everyone was the same, it would be kind of boring, and I know that, like, obviously these things make us struggle, so I'm not necessarily talking about the conditions themselves, but just differences in general are important. And as well as this, if everything was always done in the same way, then nothing new would be discovered and no improvements would be made. So we need people who think a little bit differently and experience things a little bit differently. So I wouldn't be who I am without my tics and OCD. It's really weird though, because a lot of people say that they wouldn't be who they are without their autism, but it's really weird because for me, I actually feel like I would still be myself if I wasn't autistic. I'd just be a different version of myself, but because things like my tics and OCD traits and other things have had such a big impact on my life. I genuinely do not think I would be the same person at all without the experiences I've had with those things, because the OCD, the tics, they tore my life down like a wrecking ball, but then my life got rebuilt as something that was more interesting and allowed me to have a more unique path and made me a better person in a sense. Not that anyone's better than anyone else, but I mean a better person in the sense of it just makes me feel like I am becoming the version who I am supposed to be, the version of me who I'm supposed to be. However, saying that, I did say that I was going to touch upon the negatives as well, and of course there are negatives of these conditions too. It's not all light and stuff. So some of the difficulties are, for example, I originally wanted to continue my work placement at the specialist autism school that I was doing, and it was good in a sense that I didn't, because I ended up being able to volunteer instead at a charity that really means the world to me, which was an incredible experience. But then I think back and I remember that the old work placement that I did with the specialist autism school, they said that I would be good to like work with them once I'd finished college. So it'd be amazing if I was able to work with them, but I actually can't now because A, my tics, 2, my body reacts negatively to infections, and it's infections that children often have. So it'd be too dangerous for me to be around kids who carry so many infections, because getting an infection is very dangerous for me. And number 3, muscle weakness means that I am not active enough to keep up with young children. So there are now some issues that mean that I can't do that. So that would be a negative. But to be fair, again, I'm just making my own path at this point, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of odd that, like, I had my heart set on other stuff, but it doesn't matter because I'm finding a new way. Another negative, I think, would be, obviously, just the fact that it makes life a bit more difficult to have certain things. Like, a lot of the time, I do wish that I didn't have muscle weakness. My tics, actually, I'm not so bad with, but with the muscle weakness, I definitely wish I didn't have it. So there are issues that I have that I would rather not have. Like, I wouldn't get rid of my past experiences, but certain things that I currently have, I would stop them from happening again, so that I would still have all the lessons that I've learned from my past experiences, but I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. That would be like the ideal thing. And of course, it is sad that I lost a lot of my childhood from negative experiences, but again, it built me, it built who I am, and I wouldn't be me without it. And the person I am now, I think I would be kind of not really myself if I didn't go through those things. I don't know who I would have become, but I don't think I would have had such interesting experiences. I don't think I would have had the same insights. I don't think I would be as empathetic or compassionate if I didn't go through those things. So I'm actually kind of grateful that I did. Like the book I'm attempting to write now, I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have the conditions. Pasta and also certain people who I've spoken to, like amazing influencers. Like, there's a TikTok star with millions and millions of followers that I sometimes speak to, and I realised that that probably would never have happened if I didn't have these conditions, these experiences. So there are a lot of unique and very cool experiences that I've had that I wouldn't have been able to have without the conditions. Saying that, however, I still obviously get offended when people say they wish they had tics, because yes, I have had these positives from them, but it took about how long did it take? Almost 10 years to get the positives out of it. So, and not everyone has all the positives. I'm just kind of lucky that I was able to find a positive of these issues that I have. But I know for some people that it's a lot more difficult. Everyone's experiences are very different. I get annoyed when people say they want tics, because tics actually aren't fun. Like, I haven't said my tics are fun. I don't find them fun. Apart from some of the vocal tics, like some of the vocal tics that are non-offensive are kind of funny. Like, some of the tics are, for example, when I play chess, if someone comes near my part of the board in chess, my tics will just yell, "Get away from my territory," which is kind of funny. But at the same time, there's a lot of other tics that aren't as funny. For example, self-injury tics. Like, I used to have self-injury tics. They were horrible. I also have like a permanent lump like here, because I used to hit myself so much and it just created a permanent lump. And wow, I used to be in quite a bit of pain because I'd have certain clenching muscle tics that was quite horrible. And also sometimes I'll get like a bit of a headache here because I'll be moving the muscles in my head so much. Hey, so it isn't all fun and games. And as well as that, like, the urge that comes before a tic is something that is incredibly uncomfortable, and that's not something that someone would want. Like, I used to have sensory tics where I'd feel involuntary sensations go like down my fingers, down to my toes, and I'd cry because it was so distressing. So tics actually aren't something that you would want. I'm just lucky that I have been able to find some positives in the experiences that I've had, because, you know, if I didn't find the positives, I'd probably just be sad all the time. So I'm quite happy that I've been able to find some positives in it. I think the reason that I kind of sometimes have a really positive perspective is because I don't like suffering to be wasteful. Like, I don't want to suffer for nothing. If I'm going through something, I will always try to use it for a positive. I will always try to use it as an opportunity. I will always try to use it to grow. I will always try to use it to help others in some way or create something out of it. And I think, like, my friend made this incredible bracelet for me. They made this amazing bracelet. It's a friend in the community as well. They have one of the same conditions as me, but hey, they made this bracelet, and this bracelet has a lot of positive quotes that I chose on it. And it says, "Be the person you needed as a kid. Sometimes the worst thing that happens in your life turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. If you want to make a difference to the world, you have to be different from the world. Tickers unite." That's really my main perspectives. I always keep those things in mind, and that really helps me get positives out of difficult experiences. Pasta.